What's going on, everybody? Today I'm excited to bring you another video, and it's about the two sides of the gap. And what do I mean by the gap? Well, when I say the gap, what I'm talking about is whenever we try to achieve new goals in life, we basically have like our ideal version of ourselves, which is us having accomplished the goal. And then we've got us down here, which is just our current self. And this gap here is the gap. And so what that gap is kind of like a sort of anxious feeling where you want to be up here, but you're down here. And so that's kind of the source of all motivation is to elevate ourselves up to here from here. And it's one of the most motivating things that can change your life, and it's also the one of the most scary and terrifying things and that stop us from change. And the reason I say that is because all change is due to this gap pretty much. You want to get up here, so you elevate yourself to get up there. And that's why a lot of people want to change. Say you want to be super fit, but you're overweight down here. Well, in order to close that gap is a desire you have, so you want to close that gap and achieve that goal. And the reason a lot of people don't is because you're down here, so your identity, your entire life is built around down here. And so if you want to get up here, well, this is it's a completely different life. It's a different lifestyle. You're doing different things every day. It's very, very different, and it's not in line with where you currently are. So if you've ever heard of anything called the imposter syndrome, that's kind of like what being there would feel like. You would feel like you're not supposed to be there because it's not who you really are. And so we always have this kind of paradox here where this gap here is the motivation necessary for change. And it's also like the most terrifying thing and the scariest part of change. It also feels like, I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't who I really am. And the when I would most feel the gap, anxiety levels, is when you're working really hard towards achieving a goal. Say you are really fat, and like say I'm like 100 pounds overweight, which when I started my journey I was 45 pounds overweight. And so let's just go with that. When you go on a run, it's like your body is telling you, like, why am I going on a run? I'm overweight, I'm extremely out of shape. This is out of character for me, is basically what it's saying. It's out of character for me, therefore I must be an imposter. And that's pretty much what happens is your mind tries to tell you, like, don't do this thing because it's not in your normal character. And of course it's not, because if you ever want to change anything in your life, you have to do things that you haven't done. You have to do things that are out of your character. Otherwise, you're not going to change. You're going to be exactly where you are. If you continue to do all the same things you've done, we're going to be exactly in the same place that you are right now. And so it's just a necessary part of change that you have to do things you haven't done before, or haven't done recently, or haven't done on a consistent basis. And that's the only way that you can get to change. And so when you go on a run, like I said, your mind is constantly feeding you negative energy, like the entire run. It's like, why are you doing this? You're fat, you're out of shape. This is not you. This is not you. You're not a fit person. Why would you even try to pretend that you are? Because you're not. And so it just feeds you a lot of negativity because, like I said, this gap motivates you to change, but it also really is very anxious and can make you, I don't know how exactly to describe other than anxious, and like the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It just feels like you're an imposter kind of. And if you've ever gone into like a job where you have never been in a job like that before, you do feel the same way, like an imposter. Like everybody's going to figure out, like, I don't know what I'm doing, or they're going to figure out that I'm not really very good at what I'm supposed to be doing. And, same thing as if you're trying to lose weight. Like, everyone's going to see me running and be like, why is that fat guy running? He's obviously not an athlete. What the heck is he doing running? And that's the kind of stuff your mind tells you. And so you just have to be, really, the point of me making this video is just so that you're aware that the gap is the motivation for change. And it's the thing that starts all change, I would say. So like, you have the gap here, and say you're 45 pounds overweight and you want to lose that 45 pounds. That's exactly where I was. And so this is the motivation for change. And then the problem we get into is when you actually start trying to achieve that change. You find out, like maybe you lose 1 pound. You're like, oh man, wow, that was really a lot of work. It took me, maybe 2 weeks to lose that 1 pound, and I had to diet, I had to exercise, and wow, it was a lot harder than I thought. What the heck is going on? And so once you start to actually get into closing the gap, that's when you start to realize that a lot of times closing the gap is not as easy as you thought it was going to be. You're going to encounter struggles, you're going to encounter setbacks, and that is really when the gap kind of will flip sometimes from being a positive motivational inspiration source into kind of the opposite, where like, oh man, I'm never going to accomplish this. I feel terrible. I'm a fat, overweight guy. There's no way I'm going to accomplish this goal, and I just feel anxious about not being here. So I'm here. Instead of being motivated to close the gap, I'm just super anxious and worried because I'm not up here. I'm not where I wanted to be. And instead of it being a motivational source of change, it's kind of a source of anxiety. And I don't think there's really a good way around this. I think the best thing to do is just to be prepared for it, because I encountered it a lot. And this is the reason why people set goals and then give up on them so easily. You set the goal. Sorry, I've got bad lighting here. It's early morning and I've got the sunlight in my face here. That did nothing. Anyways, so you set a goal, and the gap is like a motivational, inspirational source. But then, like I said, when you start working on it, then you get demotivated and the gap flips into, oh, I can't do this. I'm so far away from my goal. How am I ever going to close this gap? And it takes a lot of motivation, inspiration, and discipline to close that gap. And if you haven't watched my previous video, go back and watch that. It's about creating your transformation notebook. It's exactly how to create the mindset you need in order to be able to do that, because that's the best way to close the gap, is to focus on your mindset. And so, yeah, like I said, I don't think there's a good way to get rid of the anxiety from the gap. It's just a natural part of the change process. So you just have to be aware that it's normal. When you're far away from a goal, your mind is going to feel a lot of negativity surrounding that. And so just be aware of it, witness it, but don't get too involved into it. Just notice that it's a normal thing that's going to happen. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to feel a lot of negative emotions. You might feel the imposter syndrome. You might feel super anxious about how far away from your goal you are, or that you're never going to be able to achieve it. And really, the only way you can counteract that is through beliefs. And some of the things I think are the most important to believe is you have to believe in yourself. Honestly, it sounds kind of cliche, but you have to believe in yourself and your ability to push through to get to the result that you want. You have to also believe in the system that you're using. You have to know that whatever system you're using to achieve your goal, or whatever things you plan to do to achieve your goal, that if you execute on them, you're going to achieve your goal. And one other thing I like to focus on is that it's not about how far away from your goal you are. It's about who you're becoming. And so if you can just take it one day at a time and you live the life of the person you want to become for that one day, well, then the only thing that can separate you from your vision is time. So say you're 45 pounds overweight and you want to lose that weight and become healthy. So if you live every single day as a healthy person, well, then the only thing that's separating you from your vision is time. So you just have to understand that concept, be patient, and know that if you keep following the plan, the only thing that separates you from your vision is time. And so you just stay focused and execute on your plan every single day. Try not to worry too much about how far away from your goal you are. Just focus on what you can do today, because that's honestly all you ever can do, is focus on what you're doing right now and what you're doing today. And if you get that done, just focus on like the little micro days and celebrate your wins. Honestly, if you lose a pound in a week, well, that's perfect. You're exactly on your way towards achieving your goal. As long as you're moving towards your goal, that's good. That's always good. Doesn't matter if your results are slower than you expected, or even if you take a step backwards, if you get back up and get remotivated and head back towards your goal. I've fallen off the path of self-development a million times. You just got to get back up, keep moving forward. That's what it's all about. Keep moving forward. And that's the message I'll leave you guys with today. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for tomorrow, and I will publish another video. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay safe out there. Have a good one.